Hello, my lords and ladies. Welcome to episode 2 of our Descent, the Betrayer's War painting series. We're going to be doing the Mercenary on this episode. First off, as always, I want to thank all my YouTube members for your amazing support and your very heartwarming donations. If you would like to become a member, hit that members tab. Also, we do have a high tier of membership where if you purchase that membership, you get to pick one mini a month from any game that I have that you want to see painted once a month. So check that out. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Check us out on Instagram at nerd.nights. But without further ado, let's go. Alright, the first paint we're going to be using is some Iron Hand Steel. Now you can use this on almost all of the miniature. I am not using this on the sword or the hilt or the bottom of the sword, just because I changed the colors up in there and gave it a little bit of contrast look. Now there is a fad going around that you're supposed to change your metallic paints in your paint water. I usually never do because it takes a lot of extra time to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Sometimes you make a mistake. I never do. It's up to you if you want to do it. Next, we're going to use some Xandri dust on all the hair that is coming out from the top of our helmet. For all of our gray pieces, we're going to use some Skavenblight Dinge. This includes the cape that's kind of come around the abdomen area, the backside, and the front. Now, if you notice on the art from the game, there is some brown in there. I didn't put any of that brown in there because I didn't really thought it made a difference. I think it's going to look fantastic at the end, and you'll see as well. For our sword, we're going to use some Grey Knight Steel. You can also use this on the buckles as well. This is a very vibrant, bright silver with like some hints of blue in it. For all of our buckle areas, leather areas, we're going to use some Mournfang Brown. Just be a little careful on this. Again, if you make a mistake, go over it with the other paint that you already painted on there, the gray. Again, mistakes are going to happen. Just try your best. For the leg that is sticking out, the left leg I guess I should say, the undercloth, we're going to use some Steel Legion drab. It's on the front and on the back side as well. Now, our Mercenary has two bags on it, one in the front, one in the back. The back looks more like a water skin, but I'm going to be using the same colors on both of them, a little bit of XV88. You can change the colors, you can do a lighter brown. Again, when we wash this thing down, it's going to dull it down a lot, so it doesn't really make a huge difference. And you have 4 of them to paint, so try and skip corners where you can, I guess. For the inside of the blade that is on our abdomen area or waistline, we're going to use some Tallarn Sand. Followed by some Dryad Bark for those areas around the sword. We're also going to use this underneath the arms. If you notice, there are some straps that come down around the arms, around the armor. I'm just using some Dryad Bark. You're never going to notice it. Probably didn't even know it was there until I told you. Now we're going to go back to our Grey Knight Steel once again, and we're going to use that on the sword hilt area of the one that's on our waistline. And finally, with the base colors, use some Canoptek Alloy. I can never say it. I don't know why. On the hilt area of our sword. Alright, for all of our brown areas, we're going to use some Agrax Earthshade. This includes the hair on top of the head, the hilts, the belt, the bags, the underpants, all that stuff. We're going to use some Nulin Oil here in a second on everything else, basically. And of course, for all the metal areas, we're going to use some Nulin Oil. This is like peanut butter and jelly. If you got armor, you're going to probably have Nulin Oil. You might do a 50-50 mix of Agrax Earthshade and Nulin Oil, but for the most part, this mercenary is just going to get that Nulin Oil wash. All of our metal areas for this. Now, after you are completely dry of all your Nulin Oil, depending on where you live, how hot it is, or how cold it is, let this thing completely dry. Mine took about 20 minutes or so to dry, so not crazy long, but you can work on another project while you're doing that. We're going to use our original base color of Iron Hand Steel, and we're going to use this on all of the raised areas. Now, I started with a larger brush, but then I brought it down to a very small brush. We really just want to focus on the raised areas. Obviously, if you have a smooth surface on some of those pauldron areas, put some of that paint in there, but do not get into any recesses or crevices. You just want to do a nice little brightening of the areas. It's going to make it stand out, and you're really going to notice a difference from that Nulin Oil wash. Next, we are going to use some of that Grey Knight's Steel, and again, this is really all over the thing, but I kept a little bit of that recess with the wash in there. For the other parts of the sword, you can even do this on the belt buckle to kind of brighten up, just give it a little bit of different tinge of silver and gold. Some Canoptek Alloy. Said it right that time. That usually doesn't happen. Now for me, these are the two main focal points. We'll start on the first one, which is the hair that is coming out of our helmet. We're going to do a reapplication of Xandri dust, and again, we do not want to get anything into the recesses. You don't even want to get the whole thing. You just want to get some bright spots on this area. Again, make sure your paint is thin, skim milk consistency, and we're going to very easily go over this thing and just make it look nice. Smooth transition. Once you're satisfied with all of your reapplication of Xandri dust, we're going to do a Xandri dust and Ushabti Bone 50-50 mix. Again, we're going to go over basically the same areas. If you didn't go over it on the first run with the Xandri dust re-highlight, don't do it now with the 50-50 mix. It's going to look weird. So whatever you went over with before, you want to re-go over it now. And finally, with your final highlight of that hair, we're going to use some straight Ushabti Bone. Again, don't go overboard with it, very light. I like to focus on the front of that helmet, a little bit on the back of that whipping hair. Absolutely nothing underneath. Keep that dark in the recesses, and it should look fantastic. Now, the other staple point, or the eye catcher, I guess you could say, kind of, is our capes. We're going to do a reapplication of the raised areas only of that Skavenblight Dinge. Next, on the same raised areas, we're going to do a 50-50 mix of Stormvermin Fur and Skavenblight Dinge. Now, this is not going to be as a bright highlight like the hair was. This is going to be more of a subtle highlight that you can absolutely tell is done, but nothing over the top crazy. And finally, some pure Stormvermin Fur. Now, you should absolutely notice that the highlights have been built up. It goes from a very dark gray to a very light gray, and with a smooth transition from those two contrasts. Again, only the raised areas. Don't go overboard with it. It's a mercenary. He's not a king. He's not perfect. It is what it is. And you have 4 of these to do. For our leather belt areas, we're going to do some Doombul Brown. Again, you can go over it again with Mournfang Brown if you want, but I just chose to make it a little bit more of a brighter reddish brown. And finally, on the highlights, we're going to use that reapplication of Steel Legion Drab. Again, this is real simple. Don't get in the recesses, just get those 3 prongs you see on the front, a little bit on the back, and that is it. Now for the base, which I can really appreciate on these minis, but we're going to use some Wyldwood on the wood planks that are broken on our base miniature. We're then going to take some Mechanicus Standard Gray, and we're just going to paint on the tops of those stones and on the side as well. So don't forget those sides, because it'll look a little weird, because the Mechanicus Standard Gray spray paint that we use is totally different than the actual paint. I don't know why they call it that, because they're different. After that, we are going to use some Snakebite Leather on the wooded arrows portion. For the fletchings on our arrows, we're just going to use some basic Blood Angels Red. And obviously, you notice we're using a vast majority of contrast paints because we're trying to speed this process up. You could spend all day on here. You could do a bunch of stuff and it would look really cool. Just trying to paint them and get them on the table, you know? Now we'll get a very small brush. We're going to put some Nulin Oil on there, and then we are going to just fill in the cracks. You're not going to put it all over the stone, but if you do, it's totally fine. Put it on the cracks and you'll get that nice depth looking from those stones. And you probably should notice that there was like some dirt or something in the middle. You could put some green ooze down. You can put a whole bunch of stuff. I just put some Aggaros Dunes in there and just let it dry. Next, we're just going to take some watered down Dawnstone. I mean, very watered down, and just put that right on all those bad boys. Give it those nice castle-y looks. And then finally, your favorite part of painting this miniature, because it means we're done, the rim of the base. You can paint it whatever color you want. I always do black. If you've been watching this channel long enough, you know that. And there we have it. Pretty simple. Looks pretty good for being a mercenary. Not too shabby. Not too many paints. Not too many steps. Didn't go overboard with a lot of it. So not too shabby. I want to say thank you for everybody for watching this. Please hit that subscribe button. Please hit the bell. Support the channel if you can. You guys are amazing. I can't thank you guys enough. I love doing this, and I want to continue to do this even more. Think about that high membership if you want, so you can pick the miniatures you want. But until the next video, paint on.